All right, so we're done with chapter one, but we're going to do the math, a couple of math problems from chapter one right after this. Um, this is just a video on how to understand commissions and setting your goals. All right. This is Ryan Serhant. He was on Million Dollar Listing Agent. He's an agent in New York. He opened up his own brokerage and training center now. So he wrote a book. He's trying to peddle that, So just keep in mind that. But yeah, you got a good personality for the real estate too. But he shows you how to break down setting your goals for how much money you want to make. So let's put this video on and let me optimize video sharing, which will close out all of our videos here. And you guys can see him on screen. So let's go.
I sold over $4 billion worth of real estate over the last couple years. But what does that really mean?
Now, everybody can hear that volume fine?
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
How much real estate agents actually make. Hello, all you beautiful people. A few things before we get started. Yes, the book is still strapped to my damn hand. If you could please pre-order Big Money Energy. My new book comes out February 2nd. I wrote it during quarantine. Link is in the caption. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The little thingy right here. Really, really, really important. I love you so much. Like all that, send this to your friends. Most of you probably know me from Million Dollar Listing New York on Bravo, a show I've been on for nearly 10 years. And on that show, they show me making money. The show is about selling property, personal life, and all that, but it's always capped by sale price, commission. And people see it, and they're like, whoa, $2 million commission, $600,000 commission. Wow, 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 wow. But it doesn't go into the splits, doesn't go into the taxes, doesn't go into the marketing fees, doesn't go into all the little details that break out that entire commission dollar amount. And so I want to bring some clarity to all of you who might be thinking about getting into this business, because this is the greatest business in the world. And until a house can figure out how to sell itself to another house, there will always be a need for real estate agents. Now, let me state the obvious. New York City real estate is very different from the rest of the world. Our average price point in New York is just over $1 million for maybe a room this exact size. The rule of thumb in New York is you're paying about $1 million a bedroom. Now, obviously, we've sold things that are much, much, much more expensive. We just sold a 3-bedroom for $36 million. And there's also things that are much, much, much less expensive. But on average, that's the way you work. The rest of the United States, the average home sale price is just under $300,000. So
not anymore. That's significantly up. It's closer to 400,000.
So commission amounts obviously vary, and you have to sell a lot more in other places to be able to make nearly as much as real estate agents make in New York City. But keep in mind, the splits that real estate agents in New York have with the house, so the main brokerage, are a lot lower than what you'll find in the rest of the country, and for good reason. There are massive expenses in New York. Do you have any idea how much it costs, not just to live in New York City, but how much it costs to operate a business in New York City? It's very, very, very expensive. So for all of you who are not yet in the real estate business and you're thinking about it, but you're nervous because you know there's no salaries and everything is commissioned and you have bills and you have loans, you have life to pay for, I want to walk you through exactly how the numbers work, okay? So let's say you sell something for $1 million. The average commission in the United States, including New York City, is 2.5%. Now, sometimes if you represent both sides of the deal, if you're in a state where you can do that, you can get 5% or 4% or 3%, whatever you negotiate with that seller or whatever you've negotiated with that buyer going into that deal. But more often than not, in the United States, the seller is paying a commission that is pre-negotiated with the seller's agent. The seller's agent then lists that property for sale in the MLS. By the way, in New York, no MLS. I know, it's crazy. And they advertise what the commission percentage is that they are willing to then pay the buyer's agent. So,
all right, now that has changed with the NAR lawsuit. It is still possible to do that where you're the seller's agent, you negotiate with the seller for the total commission, and then you're splitting it, offering to share it with whoever brings in the buyer's agent. However, in the advent of that lawsuit, we now have to use what we call brokerage service agreements with every person we work with, sellers, buyers, etc., that stipulates how much we're going to get paid and by who. And if the seller allows us to share our commission with another agent, which really shouldn't be any of their business. If they agreed to split with us, to pay us a commission, if we choose to split that with someone else, that shouldn't be any of their business. But we've always disclosed that anyway. But that NAR lawsuit was because of that nonsense. So now it's just more paperwork for us. So that's it.
I sold over $4 billion.
All right, so that started over again. Let me try to get this back here again to where we were.
As real estate agents make in New York City. But keep in mind, the house, so the main brokerage, are a lot lower than what you'll find in the rest of the country, and for good reason. There are massive expenses to live in New York City, but how much it costs to operate a business, salaries, and everything is commissioned, and you have bills, and you have loans, you have life to pay for. I want to walk you through exactly how the numbers work, okay? So let's say you sell something for $1 million. The average commission in the United States, including New York City, is 2.5%. Now, sometimes if you represent both sides of the deal, if you're in a state where you can do that, you can get 5% or 4% or 3%, whatever you negotiate with that seller or whatever you've negotiated with that buyer going into that deal. But more often than not, in the United States, the seller is paying a commission that is pre-negotiated with the seller's agent. The seller's agent then lists that property for sale in the MLS. By the way, in New York, no MLS. I know, it's crazy. And they advertise what the commission percentage is that they are willing to then pay the buyer's agent. So most often, the selling agent goes to the seller and says, we can list it for X amount, so let's say $1 million, and the commission is going to be 5%. Because there's most likely going to be a buyer's agent and we need to pay 2.5 to them and 2.5 to us, and we split it 50-50. So let's say you're bringing the buyer. You bring the buyer and it's an amazing place, well priced, you jump on it, you get it for the $1 million, boom. Commission on $1 million listing would then say $25,000. Now, if you're a brand new agent, most real estate brokerages start their agents on a 50-50 split, meaning for every dollar you bring in, the brokerage gets 50% of that. And again, for good reason. They're helping you. They're training you. They're providing leads a lot of the time. They're giving you all the resources, everything, so that you don't have to come out of pocket. Remember, everyone needs to make a living. And the less the brokerage makes off of you, the less they're going to help you. So $25,000 then is split in half if that's the split with the brokerage. So that's $12,500, and that goes to you. Now, if there were marketing costs, marketing fees that are taking off the top, maybe you had to get a taxi or some other expense and the brokerage paid it for you so you didn't have to come out of pocket, that then gets deducted. Other real estate brokerages have desk fees, they have lead generation fees. So make sure you know when you sign up with your brokerage to be very, very clear as to what fees, costs, and expenses you are going to be responsible for, both upfront and what will be deducted from your check. I have agents who reach out to me every day who got into the business because of me, flattered, thank you, who say, hey, I just sold my first place. I was supposed to get $3,000, but I got $2,252 and all these things taken out. This is bullshit. Sirhan, have you ever dealt with this? Yeah, that's how the business works. Now, if you've only sold one place and you sold it for $1 million, and you're a brand new agent and you're split with your brokerages 50-50, then all you're going to make that whole year is $12,500. And if you don't have any other marketing expenses, that's great. Your check will be for $12,500. Boom! Bang! Models and bottles. Hold the phone. Now remember, there's also taxes. One of the big things that independent contractors, which all of us in the United States and most of us in the world, forget, net after taxes, costs, and expenses. Remember that. You live in the net. You don't live in the gross. You live in the net. That was important for me to remember too when I first got into the business. One of my first checks ever was for $24,000. And I was like, dude, I can do anything now. Smarts come a lot later, especially when your tax accountant then says to you, oh, hey, by the way, we need X amount of dollars. And you're like, From where? From you. But I don't have that. If you're in New York, it's upwards of 50%. So make sure you understand what your income tax liability is in every single state. One of the reasons I love this business so much is that everything is in your control, which is good and bad, right? The good is that you can sell as much as you want. No one is ever going to tell you that you've sold too much real estate. The way you're going to make the most money isn't by just selling one home, it's by selling lots of homes. I haven't sold billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of real estate because I sit there and count every single commission check and every single expense. I focus on goals. Let's say you want to get to $100,000 in income by year 2 or 3. Okay? How are we going to do that? Let's break it down by how much you need to actually sell. So if the average home sales price in the United States is just under $300,000, let's say $300,000. Okay? The average commission is 2.5%. So $300,000 times 0.025, okay, is $7,500. That is the total commission. Whatever the split is with your brokerage, you can do the math, follow along with me. But let's say, like we did at the beginning, you're a brand new agent, you're getting tons of resources, you're getting a lot of help. So you agreed 50-50 with your brokerage, that's what makes sense. So 50% of $7,500 is $3,750. That's how much you're gonna make on average from one sale of a home that on average is $300,000. You wanna make $100,000?
And that's from one side of the transaction only, not both sides. If you got both sides, you got the seller and the buyer, well, then you could double that. And that's still being conservative, only at a 50% split.
$1,000, your average home sale price where you are is $300,000, you need to sell, on average, just over 2 homes, hopefully more, every single month to make that number. The more people you know and that know you as a real estate salesperson, the more leads you're going to generate, the better your chances are of getting those 2+ homes sold every single month. That is the business. There's obviously a whole lot more that goes into it. Maybe we'll do more videos like that. If you like this type of vlog, if you like this type of video where I just sit here.
All right, that's it for that anyway. Okay, so now we got, let me shut off that optimizing for video sharing, and here we go. So hopefully you guys found that video useful and showing how to set up your goals based on the price of homes that you're averaging for whatever area it is that you're selling homes and working in. All right. Remember, there's 2 sides of a transaction too. And if you got the listing, you have the opportunity of also getting the buyer for that transaction, thus twice the commission. You get both ends of the deal, right? All right. So in this screen right here that you see, there's a question here. A lot of people will say, if I ask them, can you figure out your commission, what your commission is going to be if I give you a problem? And they're like, yeah. What about you guys? Can you guys figure out a commission? Well, I usually give this problem and then nobody can figure it out. Or maybe we'll get one person out of a big class that'll figure it out. But this is actually very closely written to, very similarly written to how they ask questions on the state exam. Here's a type of question. Can you guys read this? Is this large enough for you guys to read, or should let me read this here for you the first time. It says, if a property sells for, you can use calculators, by the way. I want you guys to try to figure this out. If you get it, send a text message to me in the chat window. You see that chat window there. Just make sure you pull down my name from the drop down so you're sending it to me and not to the entire class. Let's see if you can figure this out. It says, if a property sells for $325,000 and the total commission is 6%, if the listing agency gets 60% and the buyer's agent gets 60%, how much does the buyer's agency get to keep? $325,000, total commission 6%. Listing agency gets 60%, buyer's agent gets 60%. How much does that buyer's agency get to keep? This is very simple math. You're allowed to use a calculator. It's more of a comprehension problem than it is actually a math problem. So let's see if you guys can figure it out. And before anybody asks me or says the problem's wrong, it's more than 100%. No, it's not. You're not comprehending the problem, which is the whole point of this problem. Okay, you gotta catch what they're trying to push by you here. Okay, I'll read it one more time. If the property sells for 325,000 and the total commission is 6%, if the listing agency gets 60% and the buyer's agent gets 60%, how much does that buyer's agency get to keep? Okay, we can start working it down just a little bit. What was that total commission? 325 times 6%. Make sure you annotate your math. You write next to it as you're working out the problem what that number is, like I did here. 325 times 6%, that's 19,500. That's the total 6% commission. Okay, keep working it down now.
Um, I think it's 11,700. Oh, I'm sorry.
Send it to me in the chat window.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, just make sure you pull my name down from the chat screen so that you're sending it just to me, okay? Okay. Make sure you're writing next to your, as you're working out the problem, make sure you're writing what that number is so that you don't get lost in all the steps.
Oh, sorry, Victor. I sent onto the group chat. I need to send to you only.
Yep. Well, that's okay. I got two people that so far that had the wrong thing. Let's see, you sent it to everybody. Nope, that's not right anyway. So. As you're breaking down the math in the steps, make sure you write next to each step what that number is so that you're not getting lost in the math. Remember the approach I told you guys on how to do any question, whether it's math or not. Ask yourself a question about the question, and usually it starts to clarify things up a little bit for you. When you guys eventually see the answer on this, if you get it, or when I show it to you, you guys are going to be like slapping yourselves in the head. You're going to be like, duh. This is one of those simple, stupid questions where the answer is right in front of your face. You're not seeing it. Like I said, it's not the math, it's the understanding of the question. So ask yourself a question about the question. Break it down into little chunks. And let me give you a little hint here. I'll give you a little hint. If a property sells for 325,000 and the total commission is 6%, we just figured out the 6% is $19,500. If the listing agency gets 60%, let's stop right there and ask a question about the question. If the listing agency is getting 60%, how much is the other side getting?
40.
40. Huge hint right there.
Yes, and their funds 40 equal to 7,800. Out of 7,800, 60% get agent. So that's 40%, 7,800 equal to 3,120.
Send your answers to me in the message thing.
Yeah, 3,120.
All right. Let's see. So let me break it down a little bit more. I asked you guys, I gave you guys a hint. I said, if the listing agency is getting 60%, how much is the other side getting?
So I had a question here. It was a little confusing for me to understand it in the first place. If they are getting 60%, then the buyer's agent should be getting the 40%, no? Or how can both parties?
That was my question just now, right? Because you got to ask yourself a question about the question. If the listing agency is getting 60%, how much is the other side getting?
So 40%.
Okay.
And the 40% is
High, correct?
7,800.
No. Because look,
The total is 19,500.
if the listing agent gets 60%, the other side's getting 40%, how much is 40% of the total? 19,500 times 40%, that's 7,800.
Yeah, 7,800.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's total commission that goes to the listing agency before they split with their agent. And the agent is getting 60%. So how much does the agency get to keep of that 7,800?
40%. So it's 40% of 7,800.
There you go. Well, yeah, yes, there you go. So
That's
this is
1,500.
40% of the total commission. That's 7,800. So that's in other words, the total commission is going to the buyer's agency before they're split with their agent. So now, if you break it down a little bit further, there's two ways to come up with the answer here. You could either just do 7,800 times 40%, or you could do 7,800 times 60% is that amount, and then subtract it from the 7,800, and then you get
3,120.
Yep. So you guys may want to snap a picture of this problem because you're going to get a state exam question. It's not the same question. The numbers are going to be different. It'll probably be like 55 and 55 or some number that doesn't make sense, but it's similar. It may be worded slightly different, but it's similar. It's the same kind of concept here. You know, how much does the buyer's agency get to keep?
Yeah, so basically it's like whatever I was getting confused between, I was taking both as one, the agent as well as the buyer's agent as well as the buyer's agency, but they're separate.
Yes, the
So-
agent the company, the agent is the individual, right?
Yeah. And then the agency gets the rest. So we have to deduct that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because what is the question after all asking? It's not how much is the agent earning, it's asking how much the agency gets to keep, how much
Right.
they earn.
Yeah.
Everybody see what they did wrong? Everybody understand this? Any questions for me from anybody? No, everybody good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let me cover this back up with the blue. Boom, 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 boom. So that the next instructor can teach this. You know what I gotta do? I gotta work this out so it's just interactive slides, so I don't gotta cover it with a blue box. But I'll save that for later. Okay, so the next one. The next one I have already spelt out for you. By the way, on exams, we're not going to give you, neither is the state going to give you, how many feet are in an acre. That's a number you need to memorize. Remember I told you how to memorize that number? Think of a song that has the words in it to the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. And count to 6, starting with 3. To the left of the comma. 3, 4. Now to the right of the comma. 5, 6. And throw a 0 on there for good luck. All right. So it's just a matter of counting to 6, starting with 3. To the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. All right. That's a good way to try to memorize how many square feet in an acre. All right. So in this problem here, we have a 2.5 acre lot. And the property is 500 feet deep and sells for $1,000 per front foot. What is a front foot? It's how wide the front of the lot is. The lot, the property. So we need to figure out how wide the front of the lot is with the information that they gave us. If we have a 2.5 acre lot, the first step is take how many square feet in an acre, times that by 2.5, and that gives us the total square footage of a 2.5 acre lot, 108,900 square feet. And they told us it's a 500 foot deep. So all we do now is we take that 108,900, divide it by 500, the depth, and it'll give us the other dimension, the width. However, we're spending $1,000 for a full front foot, not only a part of a foot. So we're going to just round that down then, okay, to the nearest full foot. And that would be 217. So if it's selling for $1,000 per front foot now, we just take 217 times 1,000, that's $217,000. So everybody see how I came to that? You're going to need it for the next problem, which is going to have an extra step in it.
Can you explain the front footage again?
Yes, frontage or front feet is how wide the front of the lot is. You know, the front of your house facing the street, right? That's called frontage. How much frontage you have on the road, right? In commercial properties, that's a big deal, you know, because how much room you got for parking or for a driveway, for exposure to the street where the cars are driving by. It's called frontage or front feet, how the width of the front of the lot. So sometimes it's important to know what the dimensions are. Look, a lot of times it's important to know. You want to build a house, you buy a vacant lot. Can you build a house on it? Well, it depends what your local zoning requirements are. If they require you to have at least 50 feet of frontage, and you only have a 40-foot width front of your lot, you're not going to be able to build a house, because that area is zoned for requiring 50 front feet. Did I explain that good enough, or are you still?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just trying to figure out the math part of it.
Okay. Yeah, so the math part, when you figure out the total area of the lot, what the total square footage is, and they told you the width of one, the length of one of the dimensions. All you have to do is take this total area, divide it by that, and then you'll get the other angle or the other length or width. So we're going to try one. Here you go. Once again, don't shout out the answers. Send them to me in the message. Get my name from the drop down. If you have a 3-acre lot that can be subdivided into 50 by 100 foot minimum lot sizes, how many lots can this lot be divided into? And so how many lots can this property be divided into? And how much will the seller make if each lot sells for $150,000? What's the first step here?
Finding the square footage.
Finding the total square footage of the property, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 3 acres, how do we figure out the total square footage?
So 3 into 43,560.
So we figure out how many square feet in an acre, and we multiply that by the number of acres. In this case, it's 3. And that'll give us the first section, which is the total square footage of that lot. Now what?
Divide by now 5,000. It's 100 into 50 is 5,000. It's 26. Total is 26.
Wait. What are you saying?
Can we subdivide into the 50 into 100 minimum lot size? So we have to multiply 100 into 50. That is 5,000.
Well, so a 50 by 100 lot, we need to figure out.
Cuando entran, yo voy a decirle.
Somebody type that on the phone. You gotta mute yourselves if you are. I'll mute it. Okay, if anybody's going to talk, just unmute yourself. There was a lot of background noise there. So if you have a 50 by 100 foot lot size, how many total square feet are there in those 50 by 100 lot? And it's right there, 50 by 100, by the way. Anytime you see lot dimensions like this, you know it's either going to be a square or a rectangle, because there's only 2 dimensions. There's only 2 lengths. The first one is the width, always. The first measurement is always the width of the front of the lot. And then the other one is the depth. So in this case, all we got to do is multiply this one side's length by the other side's. So 50 by 100. That's 5,000, right? 50 times 100, that's 5,000 square feet. So now, how do we figure out how many total lots there are? How do we figure out how many lots there are now? How many lots we could
Divided 130680 divided by 26. That is.
Oh, don't give the answers. Don't give the answers. I'm asking you how do you get to that point? Okay, I want everybody just to understand. We can use calculators, so the math is easy. You know, it's a matter of I want you guys to understand the steps and how we're getting to that point. Okay, I'm not worried so much about the math answers because you got to calculate. Yeah.
So we have around 26 lots.
So you divide the 130 divided by 5,000.
Yeah. So we take So we take that minimum divisible lot size of 5,000 square foot and the total area of the bigger lot. So, and we divide one by the other, 130,680 divided by 5,000. And that gives us 26.14. So we're going to have one lot that's, we're going to have some lots that are a little bit larger than exactly 5,000 square feet. It's a little bit extra. Okay, but that's fine. You know, we need a driveway or a road or something anyway. So that's okay. So we got basically 26 lots out of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if each lot sells for 150,000, that's only part of the question. So now if each lot sells for 150,000, how much money total do they make?
That's
It is 150,000 multiplied by 26. 390,000.
Oh, it's a lot more than that. You're missing some zeros there on your calculator.
Oh, yes, 50.
3,900,000.
$3.9 million. So 150,000 times 26, that's $3,900,000 or 3.9 million. You guys would like to snap a picture of this one? Once again, be my guest. These are the types of problems you'll get on exam. Now, they're not going to draw the pictures. There's going to be no pictures of the lots. They're not going to give you the number of square feet in an acre. It's just going to be a word problem. You know, like you're just going to see these words. That's all you're going to see. So you need, on your scrap paper, draw the lot. Draw how many feet in an acre. Draw the dimensions. Make it easier for yourself, you know? And you can use a calculator. So there's that too. Okay, so everybody snap a picture of it who wanted that?
Yes.
Okie doke. So I'm going to cover all that back up again. And that concludes the math part of chapter 1. All right, so now we can start chapter 2. Yay! But let me end that recording first. Oh wait, somebody had a question. Oh wait, no, it was about the problem. Okay. Sorry about that.